So now to finish off the game, we're going to create a monster and set a lose condition. So to do that, we're going to go back into our character class, and we're going to do this cool little thing. We're going to create a random number. So to create random numbers, there is a function inside Java. It's a library, and we're just going to call static. Now, it doesn't have to be static, but in this case it is because of how we're using it. You're going to say random, and we're going to call it rand is equal to new random. Perfect. That's all you need to do. And then import the library. And there we go. So it's just like creating an object, but in this case, we're creating a random thing. So now we can use that. So we need to create a way for our monster to move. So we're going to create a new method called public void monster move. And the reason why we created the random thing is because there's 4 options for our monster. You can either move up, down, left, or right. Okay. So this is going to be basically the same as our player move. So we can actually open up player move, and we can basically just copy this over. Okay, but in this case, instead of int next, we're going to create, or in.next, we're going to create, oh, there we go. We're going to create a thing. Okay, there we go. We're going to create an int called q. Could be anything, but I'm just going to call it q. And then we're going to check q. And we also want q to be equal to, so yeah, q is equal to rand.next int. Okay, and it'll ask us a range. So what we can do is we can say, since there's only 4 options, we can just say 4. Okay, so if the case is 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, and there we go. And we can actually just get rid of this and just have the default. Let's actually set the default to one of these. So let's set the default so he moves downwards. Okay, so moving downwards would be this one because it doesn't need to type anything out to us. And there we go. So this should be our monster move. And we're going to come back here into the main, and we're going to create a monster for us. Okay, we're going to call it monster. And we're going to assign its name to M. And we don't want it to have X and Y. What we actually want is something different. So I'm going to call static int XX and static int YY. And static int XX is actually going to be equal to min X board space. Okay, so we want it in the top row. And then we're going to set YY equal to, we can actually just use the exact same. I think. Yeah, we should be able to. Because we want it to still be in the middle. Okay. But we want to be able to manipulate it separately, so that's why it's in its own thing instead of us just using Y. Alright, so now we have our monster. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to, under character draw, we're just going to do monster.character draw. So now it'll draw our monster. And we also want to say monster.monster move. Alright, so now what it's going to do is every time this updates, it's going to draw the monster, which we already know. And we also want it to move our monster. So what it's going to do is it's going to generate a random number, and then it's going to check to see which random number that is, and then move our monster in a random position. Okay? And if it, this default, by the way, is if it happens to not be between 1 and 4, which it has to be, it will automatically just assign him to this specific movement. Okay, so let's see if this works. So we're going to draw. You see our monster now exists. So let's move. And our monster moved as well. Okay, now remember, our monster's moving in a random pattern, and he somehow is now stuck over there. Okay. So I've won. I got to the end. Type something. I don't know why. Why is it checking? Why does it need two things to type? Okay, so we have some kind of error. Um, but we'll deal with that later. So, so now we have this. So now let's add a lose condition. Okay, so we're actually going to create a second if statement. If um, player dot get x, okay, is equal to monster dot get x. Okay, so that should work. I'm gonna put those like that. So I've encapsulated them inside of their own set of parentheses because I'm going to have an and statement. Okay, I'm going to create another set of parentheses, and then in here player dot get y is equal to monster dot get y. So it seems big, but it's actually not. Why doesn't it like that? Left hand side must be a variable. Oh, it's because it wants these to be double equals. There we go. Because it's a conditional, not a math equation. So now what it's going to check is it's going to say if our player is in the same X position as our monster, and if our player is in the same Y position as our monster, do this. So what we want it to do is basically this. And we're actually going to have has one equal to true because that ends the program. But instead of has or you've won, we're going to say you've lost. See? Perfect. But then to chain these together, we're going to have an else if statement. Okay? Because we want it to constantly check to see if the player has run into the monster. And if the player hasn't run into the monster, check to see if the player's won. Right? So all we've done is update this. Now let's see if that'll work. So let's go and run our program. Let's try to run into the monster. Yeah. So we've run into the monster, and it's going to ask us n. Why does it need it to type two things in, though? I don't know. Interesting. Maybe it's because we have has one after it. Let's try doing that before. Nope, still two things. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's causing that. Maybe because it's before the player move, and so it's still checking for player move. Oh no, we don't want that. Okay, well, whatever. I don't know what's causing it. Fair enough. Okay, so this is our game. We just completed our game. Yay! It has one error, but it's not even a big error. We don't even need to have it type something. We could probably just get rid of character dot next. See if that works. Yeah, see? Don't need to type anything. So we just take that out. Whatever. Alright, so there we go, guys. We've just finished our first game ever. And what I'm going to do is for the next game, we're just going to create an updated version of this where it's an actual application in front of us with images and sprites and lots of cool stuff. So that'll be in the next one. Alright, thanks. Bye.